Hi, welcome to Zuck It Up, the podcast where we zuck things up. My name is Brandy Zucker, and I am the host of the Zuck It Up podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, in today's episode, new background. So, that's a painting that I'm currently. Okay, for those of you who are just listening, I have a kind of a situation going in my house right now. To my left is a little painting that I created. It's not done yet, so just keep that in mind if you're watching this. And this is my dog Tucker. Tucker, say hi. It's Tucker. Oh, I want you to watch this. Tucker, say, I love you. Can Tucker say, I love you? Say, I love you. Say it, I love you. There we go. He loves you too. And that is my favorite little fireplace in the entire world. I like it because, oh wait, I have to keep in mind, it's 3:41. I'm going to be ending this at 4:40. That is my favorite little fireplace because basically all you need to do to turn it on is flip a switch. And last night I fell asleep watching the fireplace. I did a huge release last night. So I came across the topic of forgiveness, and I realized that in order to set myself free, I must forgive everybody in my past. So, oh gosh. So I basically asked myself, okay, do I forgive my parents? And I said, yes, I forgive my parents. And then I said, do I forgive myself? And then the first thing that came up when I asked myself this last night was, no, I don't forgive myself, and I hold resentment towards myself. So then I'm like, okay, I realize that I am holding resentment. What am I going to do to clear it? Okay, I asked ChatGPT what to do, and ChatGPT literally came up with the best idea in the entire world. Basically, what ChatGPT told me to do was write a letter to myself explaining what I've done, what I understand, and what I'm going to stop doing. And then I wrote that letter out, and then me and Lana, we went to a fire pit outside, and then I burnt the letter. And where I'm living right now on the hiking trails, there's asphalt crystals. I think that's the name of it. And basically these crystals hold healing energy and clarity energy. They're on a plate on that table over there, and I find them every single day when I'm hiking. So I took the biggest crystal I had, and I said, this crystal represents the weight I've been carrying of resentment towards myself. And I washed the crystal in water, and then there's this tree right outside my house, and I said, tree, and then I started crying. I was like, tree, this crystal represents all of the baggage I've been carrying of resentment towards myself, and I'm giving this tree to you as an offering to alchemize it into something beautiful. And then I left she was a huge asphalt crystal. I might be butchering the name, but I left it by the tree, and then I hugged the tree, and then I just started crying because I felt like the tree let me know that he was that he understood the assignment, basically. And then I played a bunch of healing music with my dogs, and we watched the fireplace as I fell asleep. So that's what I've been doing. Also, where I'm living right now, there's like a master bedroom, there's a guest bedroom, and then there's a living room area. And I honestly realized that I love to sleep in the living room area the best. In the living room, we have a pull-out mattress from the couch, and I like this area the best because the heat does not travel to the guest room nor the master bedroom. So this, and plus the windows are the biggest here, and we have the fireplace. So like this bed right here, it pulls out, so you have the fireplace, the huge windows, and it's just the vibiest room in the house. Therefore, I must sleep in it. And and Lana loves to sleep with me. and I was honestly questioning whether she should sleep with me. And then I realized that I like when she sleeps with me because uh, she honestly helps me fall asleep really easily. Like I feel like she protects me while I'm sleeping. So that was my little introduction of what's going on today. And today I'm going to talk about how I manifested a life in the jungle. So, a couple months leading up to this trip, I always talked to my mom about how it was my dream to move to Costa Rica. And she said, "Not over my dead body are you going to move to Costa Rica." And then I said, "Oh, okay." And then another day, the thought of moving to Costa Rica came up again. And she's like, "You are not going to Costa Rica." My mom said this. She was like, "You are not going to Costa Rica. You are stuck with me whether you like it or not." And I think that was like the turning point where like I made it my mission to just move there. And so basically, while I was living in California, I went to Chapman University for. I'm laughing because I can hear my voice through the headphones, and I've just never heard the sound of my voice like this before. You know, like when you talk, like when you talk normally, the way your voice sounds is so different than when you're hearing it back in your headphones. And I should know this because I've recorded songs before. Anyways, yeah. So my mom said, "You are stuck with me whether you like it or not." And I'm gonna be honest, at that moment she kind of reminded me of, you know, that gypsy girl whose like mother made her believe that she had like polio. Yeah, I kind of felt like my mom reminded me of that lady in the moment. Anyways, okay. So I went to school in California, and while I was there, okay, before I get to the Costa Rica story, I think I should share this story because this was one of the most traumatic moments in my entire life. So basically, while I was going to Chapman University in Southern California, um, I met this guy named Sal. Okay, I think I should start off with how I met Sal. So when I was like 21 years old, I was very big on dating apps. So I matched with this guy. I think his name was Ryan. Maybe something. Maybe it's definitely not his name. I don't know. Jake. I think his name was Jake. Okay, how Jake and Sal knew each other, I have no idea. They told me. I think they were like roommates. Dude, I don't even know. I think they're like from the same hometown. It was such a crazy coincidence. Anyways, I matched with Jake, and Jake said, "I'm gonna hang out with my friend Sal and his boyfriend. Do you want to come?" And I said yes. And then we went, and Sal was this is a I love Sal. If you're listening to this, hi, I love you and I miss you, and I hope you're doing well. You're so funny and you're awesome. So okay, so I go and we hang out with Sal and his boyfriend at the time. And Sal is a TikToker, and he's a comedian, and he does funny characters. I think he's mainly known for like he recreates like Disney Channel scenes. It's so funny. And then he does this impression of like the school lunch lady, where I don't know. I think he does this like waddle, and it's so hilarious. And I don't know. We just clicked, and then me and Sal became like friends. Like. I love to use the word like all the time. Me and Sal became friends, and uh, so, and then I matched with this other guy at the time who was really into music festivals. He told me he was the owner of a music festival, and I said, "Wow, that sounds right up my alley. Let's hang out." So, I think I was using these dating apps more for like connecting opportunities than like what's the word when you go to like connect for like career opportunities. I think I was using these dating apps more for like my career opportunities than anything else. Sorry, any of you, but it's not like these boys wanted to like have a serious relationship with me anyways. Just like what they were using me and I was using them. There was a lot of things wrong with that. Now looking back at that, I don't use these apps anymore. I'm very content being alone. So that's we cleared that out. So, anyways, I matched with this guy, and I wouldn't call us dating. It was weird. I don't even know. We didn't even kiss. We didn't. We like. It was just. I think he was trying to do it, and I was like, we were both just trying to get different things out of each other. It was. It wasn't great, but he was really funny. That's why I liked him. Really well. Anyways, first of all, he wasn't the owner of the music festival. He was the accountant manager of the music festival. No, I'm not gonna say his name. Anyways, and he was the first person who got me into raves. Like seeing his excitement over different music festivals and res and different things like that. Like I could feel his excitement and like his addiction towards it, and then that got me really curious because like I was really sensitive to his love for EDM music, and then I'm like, wow, I need to go to an EDM festival. So eventually, me and Sal, we ended up going to this EDM festival in the desert of Los Angeles, and it was so cool. I love that. Just the ride up there was so awesome. And yeah, that's where I met so many people. Wow. Okay, yeah, so anyways, that festival occurred, and there's actually a picture if you scroll all the way down on my Instagram of me and Sal at the festival. Sal Bonse. I love you, Sal. And then, okay, the festival ended. Me and Sal, we get in the car that he's driving, and I remember he took a breathalyzer test to make sure that he was okay to drive. And I remember we just sat in the car for 30 minutes until the breathalyzer he had on him said he was safe to drive. And then we were just going to drive back to his apartment and go to sleep. And then this was like 4 a.m. where his apartment was like, I don't know, in the Beverly Hills area. And then we drive back, and then I don't know, I think we were going maybe 40 miles an hour, and then the car that was coming at us was going 50 miles an hour, and then we hit, and I felt like my life flashed before my eyes. I honestly think I could have had died in that moment, and then the angels were like, "You're not ready to go yet. Get back into this world." So then I was like, "Fine." And then I came back, and I remember I was just screaming in agony. Sal was fine. Basically, what happened is the driver who was coming at us, he was intoxicated, and he rammed right into us. And the only person who got hurt was me. And then I remember, like, as I was screaming, I saw the drunk driver get out of his car, throw his alcohol bottle into the trash, and switch places with his girlfriend. So then his girlfriend sat in the front seat, and then he sat in the passenger seat, and he was just like yelling. And then I was just screaming in pain. I had a black eye. I fractured my eye bone, and I dislocated my left hip. And that was the worst pain I had ever been in, probably, like, ever. That was more painful than, I think, tearing my ACL. I think I'll share my ACL tearing story another time. So then, an ambulance comes and takes me, and then I remember, like, while I was, like, sitting in the ambulance, I was, like, I literally said to the doctors, I'm like, I literally, like, asked them, like, seriously, I said, can you put me out of my misery, please? And they didn't, because I'm still here. And yeah, I couldn't function. Like, the only thing that was filling up my mind and my body, everything was just pain. When you dislocate your hip, there is nothing else you can think about besides the excruciating pain that is occurring. And I remember, like, I was all disoriented. Like, my hip bone was up here. Like, I thought I was done. I didn't know if I was able to walk again. I didn't know. And yeah, so then they gave me fentanyl, and luckily they didn't. They knew what they were doing with that drug. No, I don't have an addiction, and that was the only time I ever had to take fentanyl. And I remember the only thing that was getting me through that time was my breath. I remember I was in the emergency room. They were trying to ask me questions, and the only thing I could say was, ah! Ah! And then after like 10 minutes of screaming, my voice was hurting, and then the only thing that was left was my breath. And then that's when I really started focusing on my breath. And I was just like, and like that's kind of like the first moment where I realized how powerful the breath is. The breath that just got me through anything. And I don't think, no, I didn't take drugs that night. I did drink that night, and then they gave me the fentanyl. So then I remember when they gave me that drug, I was just like sedated, like I couldn't feel the pain. And they put me through this CAT scanner. This was like at 5 in the morning, and I'm like all drugged up, and I'm just like, I felt like I was in like some futuristic time machine. Like, I don't know where I was, what was happening, anything. I was just like I was so disassociated from everything, and it felt like I was in a movie, kind of like I don't know, some like crazy hypnotic movie where I was in like this machine, and I heard beeps and lights and stuff, and I was just like, what is happening? And then I woke up the next morning, and I remember Sal was there, and he made sure I was okay, and then he went home, and then they put my hip back in place. Luckily, I was knocked out when they did that because I do not remember that. So if you ever dislocate your hip, if you can, I guess, try to be not conscious when they put your hip back together. Yeah, so they put my hip back together. I was bedridden for like a week, and oh god, yeah, I remember I met this guy at the festival, and he actually took care of me for like 2 days before my sister came up. Yeah, which was kind of weird, and yeah, but I'm really grateful that he helped me. So thank you for taking care of me. And then my sister came up and stayed with me, and she helped me while I was still bedridden. And then like a year later, my parents, my dad, they got in contact with my friend from. So I used to when I went to dance in high school, I had a friend, and her dad was an injury lawyer. So my mom reached out to that man, and I was able to obtain a large sum of money from that car accident. And funny story, I remember I had to go to court and I had to state what happened, and the judge was like, "Can you identify the man in this room who hit you?" And I said, "Yes, I can." I don't know why I'm seeing this black person voice. I said, "Yes, I can." And then I pointed to this man, and then um, 5 minutes later, I'm like, can I actually go back to the second question? I realized it's that guy over there, not that guy. And I felt like silly for pointing so confidently at the wrong person. But I mean, I didn't know what he looked like. I was so knocked out. Hopefully they gave me some grace, which they did, because I got some good money from that. So then, yeah, I'm happy. So my dad was really helpful when it came to this lawsuit situation. However, I am curious to see if I would have had this received the same amount of money or more money if he hadn't had helped me with this, and if it was just direct um, conversation, negotiation between me and the lawyers, because my dad did play a really big part of this lawsuit at the time. So thanks for helping me get my financial income from that lawsuit. And honestly, that lawsuit is what's been allowing me to live on my own for this amount of time. And through that lawsuit, I was able to go on the trip to Costa Rica, which is this was all about. And okay, so I eventually was scrolling on TikTok one day, and um, I came across quantum shifting, which was the account that I was following at the time. I saw a lot of like, I guess, myself in her in ways. She kind of just reminded me of like maybe a future version of myself, like a version of myself that had gone through all the bullshit that I had gone through, and like she reminded me of the version of myself who was living like the life that comes after persevering and believing in yourself. And she posted that she was hosting a sacred feminine retreat in Costa Rica. And I'm like, wow, I would give anything to go on that. And then I filled out the form to go on it. And then it said, make your deposit now. And then I'm like, oh, I can't spend that much money. Even though I had the money, I'm like, oh, I can't spend that much money. And then um, eventually there was a final call to make the deposit. And I was so done with my life at that time. Like, I was just ready for change. I'd been doing so many visualizations, manifesting change. The biggest thing that I really, really, really just wanted was a change in my environment. And eventually I just had to put all of my fears of what would happen if I got out of this environment. Basically, I was afraid that, like, I really loved going to the samba club, and I liked having my access to the things around me. So I'm like, I just had to let go of what it would mean to lose all of those things. But there was a lot more to gain than there was to lose from that, which I ended up learning after this retreat. So then eventually I realized that I did have the funds to go on this retreat. And it was so hard for me to do this because spending this much money on myself was something I had never done before. And I finally made the decision. I booked the flight, I booked the Airbnb, I booked everything. I made a whole itinerary for myself. And then I went. And I also booked, because I knew on the last day of the retreat we stay in Puerto Viejo, and I knew that I just wanted to like explore that area a little bit on my own. So I booked a hostel that I stayed in for like, I just booked like 2 nights, 3 nights in that hostel, and then I booked my flight home like 3 days after. And the reason why I felt fine and content staying in the hostel is because I went on a school trip while I was in college to Argentina, and I don't know if I'll have enough time to share this part, but basically, well, I guess I do, I have about 40 minutes. So basically what happened was I went on a school trip to Argentina. I was studying abroad, and I had invited a guy to help me with something in my room, and that was one of the rules that I was not allowed to break. And because I had invited him, they kicked me off of the retreat, and they said you can either go home right now or we can put you up in a hostel. And I said, okay. And well, at first I'm like, oh my god, I've never stayed in a hostel. I heard they're so gross. I could never do anything like that. But then I went to check it out, and it was actually like cute, and there were a lot of solo travelers my age there, and there was a lounge area, music, and it was awesome. So I'm like, okay, you know what? Fuck all of the assumptions I've made about hostels. I'm going to give this a try. I definitely wouldn't. Okay, I wouldn't. I don't know how. When I stayed there, I stayed in the co-ed hostel, like the dorm where it's like boys and girls. I wouldn't do that again. That was like probably a little too far for my comfort. So I tried it and I didn't like it. But I would do like, okay, I don't plan on staying in a lot of hostels in the future. I realize that I do like, I prefer my own hotel room, if I'm going to be honest. But if I'm in a slump and I just want to travel and I don't feel like spending money, yeah, I'd stay in a hostel. They're really not bad at all, and everybody's all kind of in the same boat. But I liked saying it where it was like all like okay, I hostels aren't my number one choice, but if I were to do it, definitely do like a 4 person, like all female, all the same gender. That's kind of like my preference when it comes to hostels. But no, I definitely prefer my own hotel room. That's like my own hotel room is my first choice, and then if hostel is like my, okay, yeah, anyways, yeah, that was the hostel situation. So then I realized that I didn't want to like spend all of my car money on this trip. So I'm like, okay, let's save money and stay at the hostel. And so I did. And this was back in Costa Rica. So, and I also remember that my dad, he gets free True Blue flights with JetBlue. And I called my dad up, and I had just done a party for him. And I was a backup dancer, so he was in a really good mood with me. So luckily, when he's in good moods, then it's easier for me to ask for favors from him. It's hard to ask for favors from my dad when he's in a bad mood. So luckily, when I called him with this favor, he was in a good mood. I still would have won on the trip anyways, even if he hadn't helped me with the flight. But basically, he gets True Blue points, and I said, Dad, I'm going on a trip to Costa Rica for a retreat. I know you get True Blue points. Are you going to handle my flights, or will I be handling my flights? He's like, I'll handle your flights. How much is the trip? And then I'm like, that's private information. I didn't feel comfortable sharing the price of the trip with my dad, because there was nothing that could come good out of sharing the price of anything with my dad. I know he's like tries to help me with that things, but I mean he has such a scarcity mindset, so I can't talk about money with people who have scarcity mindsets. Anyways, but except he's bought a Lamborghini, so he doesn't have a scarcity mindset when it comes to cars. And my dream is to buy a really nice car for myself one day, because he has he has so many cars, and I needed a car one day, and he wouldn't let me drive it. And I'm like, why can't I drive the Mercedes? And he laughed. So it just made me feel like shit. And because he made me feel like shit, I can't have that kind of energy in my life at the current moment. I don't know about the future, but I just need uplifting energies around me at the moment. Back to the story. So I booked the flights and everything was booked, and then I was basically just counting down the days to my trip. I remember like 2 weeks leading up to the trip, the days were just going by so slowly. And then it was the night before the trip. I honestly like to pack like right before I leave, because there's so many things that I need to do before I go on the trip, like I like to wash my face and shower and stuff. So I didn't pack that stuff yet, and it was the night before my trip, and my mom was like, "Are you packed for your trip?" And I'm like, "Not completely." She's like, "You are so unprepared. I do not think that you should go on this trip." My mom said this to me, and I said, "Oh, okay. No, I'm still gonna go on the trip." And she's like, I don't know, Brandy, this doesn't sound good to me. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I still go on the trip. And then, my mom ended up driving me to the airport the next morning, and I said, bye. And I was so happy to, I knew that this was going to be like the start of like my life, this trip, the turning point. I remember I was just so happy. I felt free in the airport. I was talking to everybody online. Where are you going? I'm going to Dominican Republic. Oh, I've never been to Dominican Republic. Have you? They're like, oh yeah, my family likes to go every year. I'm like, oh wow, maybe I can come sometime. She's like, yeah, sure. You should totally come to Dominican Republic. I'll host you. I never got her contact information. I was just trying to make small talk. And then, yeah, I went on the trip. And then the first day, I land, and I needed to get an Uber from the airport, the Costa Rica airport, the San Juan airport. I land in San Juan, and we stay at the Airbnb. No, not the Airbnb. We stayed at the bed and breakfast, and I had the Uber take me from the airport to the bed and breakfast, and then I chilled in my room at the bed and breakfast, and it was really nice. This was like my very first time where I had a huge like room to myself with a balcony that I wasn't sharing with my sister. Almost every single time I've traveled, I share a bed with my sister. When we were like 20, 24, and 27, we shared a bed together. I'm not complaining, but this was just like very weird to me, just like having all this luxury to myself for the first time. I felt like, oh wow, I don't know if I'm worthy of this. And then that's where my realizations about my self-worth started coming in, and that's kind of my journey to letting go of mindsets that were not in alignment with my true worth and value. So then I stayed at the Airbnb, and then I'm like, okay, well, I have a lot of time to kill. There was a pool there, there was a hammock there. I'm like, I had the idea to explore San Juan for a little bit. I don't know if I'm saying it right. I'm sorry if I'm saying it was probably San Jose. I don't even know. San Juan, San Jose. I get those two mixed up. I think it was San Jose. I'm so sorry. San Jose. That's so embarrassing. This was such a long time ago. This was okay. It's currently April. This was back in October. Okay. And I remember. Okay, I have time to kill, and I'm like things. I googled on my phone things to do near me, and I was so hungry and I didn't know where to get food. And then one of the things that there was the Starbucks farm. And I'm like, oh, Starbucks farm, that looks nice. And I saw the pictures, and it was this like huge landscape of rainforests and waterfalls, and then when you look at monkeys, and when you look behind, it's like this huge like Starbucks with all these like crazy Costa Rican drinks and foods. I'm like, okay, this looks insane. And then I'm like, okay. So then I called I Uber from the bed and breakfast I was at to the Starbucks farm, and I remember we were like driving up a mountain and in the jungle to get to this Starbucks farm. I think they like made their own coffee from like the coffee beans there, and I get there, and it was so beautiful. I didn't even order anything. I just like sat and observed the view there. It was unreal. If anybody, that was the best atmospheric Starbucks I'd ever been to. And I remember that they had tours that they offered there of the farm and of like the coffee beans in the mountains. And I said, "When are the tours?" And they're like, "Oh, we don't have tours until tomorrow." And I said, "Okay." So then I ended up giving myself a tour. When I break the rules, I'm always 2 steps ahead. So it's like I understand the worst that can happen, and then I make a plan for what would happen if that happens. But ultimately, I never intend for that to happen. So then I give myself a tour. I follow the trails all the way up on the farms, and I read all the little signs, and it was so beautiful. And then I cross under the railing, and then no one saw. And I'm not saying that everybody should just break rules like this, but if you are going to do it cautiously. Like, be smart about it. Okay? So, this reminds me of another time when I broke the rules. I've broken rules so many times and haven't gotten caught. And I've definitely, every time I've broken a rule, there's been more times where I didn't get caught than when I did get caught. But even the times I do get caught, I get myself out of it. Oh, gosh. I'm a role model in many ways, but in many ways I'm also not probably the best role model. Okay. Anyways, I wanted to talk about how I broke the rules when I went to see Austin Butler, but I think we should stick to this Costa Rica story. So then I give myself the tour of the coffee farm, and it was so freaking beautiful. And I remember I ordered like a tea and like I think like I don't know, pistachio muffin or something like that. And I think it was like $30 for those two things. That was a little crazy.
It was so expensive. Ugh, I have such a money scarcity mindset. The whole meal was so expensive. I can't believe how much money I spent there.
I hate complaining about money things, so just forget I said that. But it was pretty crazy. It was worth it though because what you were experiencing was unlike anything else. And then I ran into a group of other, like a group of kids who were like also in their 20s, and they're like, and I said, "Do you want me to take your photo?" And they said, "Yes, please." I don't know if they spoke Spanish. That's why I did an accent. And then they were like, "Do you want me to take your photo?" And I'm like, "Yes, please." And then we took each other's photos, and I still have the photo. And then I ended up staying there for like a while, just like looking at the scenery. Because I mean, when you saw like we were up so high in the mountains in the Starbucks farm, and you could see like the whole jungle with this huge crashing waterfall. It was insane. Wow. And then it turned dark, and I called the Uber back to the bed and breakfast. I remember they prepared like a really delicious dinner. It was like some teriyaki stir fry dish. It was so good. And then I remember before I went to the Starbucks farm, I chilled in the hammock. I swam in the pool. I will say, I did get hella bug bites from that hammock, and I will say, okay. Anyways, that's not the point. Okay, so then the next morning was the day we leave to go to the port. No, not port. What's it? The area. We need to take a little Sansa airplane flight to the other side of Costa Rica, the Caribbean side. We need to take a little airplane to the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. So there was one other woman from the retreat who also stayed at the bed and breakfast and we had breakfast together the next morning, the morning we left to take the flight to the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. So, yeah, we met, we hung out, we talked a little about why we were on the trip, got to know each other a little bit. She was so sweet. And then we also there were like really cute dogs and cats at the bed and breakfast, and I remember I would just like sit in the rocks and just like pet the dogs. They were such like jungle dogs, like they were not groomed at all. You could just tell they were like super crazy jungle dogs. Not crazy, but just like jungle dog. Like there is a difference between jungle dogs and domestic. Well, I guess they're both domestic, but there's a difference between like jungle dogs and then the dogs that we have. So then we take the guy who runs the bed and breakfast. He drives us to the airport, and we take the flight from the airport to the Caribbean side of Costa Rica. And I remember they had like homemade kombucha in that airport, and I remember the lady who was weighing our bags, she liked me, so she didn't charge me extra money for my overweight bag. I love it when they don't charge you extra money. Me talking about money again. Anyways, yeah, so we take the flight, and that was like the most life-changing flight in the entire world. Like, I just felt a new beginning coming to me. I had never been in the sky. I had never been that intimate with the sky before. This airplane held I think it was like 6 passengers, and it's just like a little tiny airplane, and we put our luggage. We don't check in our. We didn't check in our luggage. We brought our luggage and we just placed it in the back of the airplane. We took our seats. An airplane's flying over me as I'm saying this. We took our seats, and then we took off, and I was so scared. But then the only the thoughts that were going through my mind are that the people who fly this airplane, this is their full-time job. This is what they do for a living, and they know what they're doing. They wouldn't have chosen this job. They wouldn't have this as their main source of income, what they do every single day, if they didn't trust it. And I knew that if these pilots can trust it, then I could trust it. So I trusted it, and I let go of my fears, and it was so very, very, very loud, like very, very loud. So then I make the decision to walk to the back of my plane. I don't think we're supposed to do that, but I walk to the back of my plane, and I get my headphones, my Beats headphones, and I start playing Sarah Kinsley. Oh no, darling, there she goes, running with the head, for the sake of living on the edge. That was like the best song to play. And then I played maybe Space Song by DJ Hugs. That's a bunch of like rebirth, emotional, moving on songs, letting go, like changing direction songs, and just like stepping into new beginning. Oh, I think I also played End of Beginning by DJ O. That song is so awesome as well. I was just playing really, really good songs, and the music definitely helped with that flight. So if you ever have to take a Sansa flight and it's really, really loud, listen to music. You're not going to be able to talk with people, so definitely wear headphones. And it was so beautiful. I mean, we were flying over the ocean, we were flying in the clouds, and it was so awesome. I think the only way that I could have been more intimate with the sky is if I had gone skydiving. And I think I do want to go skydiving in my lifetime, but I'm just gonna wait for the right opportunity. Like, I'll wait for until like I feel really, really called to go. I don't think I'm gonna go yet, because skydiving feels like a very big deal for me. I mean, you're just like falling from the sky. It's wild, but I definitely can see myself doing it based off all the other crazy shit I've done in my life. So then eventually we arrive in the Caribbean side. I don't know why I can't remember the name of this airport, but we arrive at the airport in the Caribbean side. It was like Nina, Talamanca, something like that. We arrive, and then the hosts of so this retreat was run by Quantum Shifting, the TikTok account I follow, and Shell Consciousness. So they had arranged a car to pick me and the other girl up who was also on the retreat with me to go from that airport to the base of the mountain, and that was the mountain that the retreat took place on. So then we drive, we get in the car, and he takes our luggage, we get in, he's like, he had a really nice, beautiful energy to him, and he was kind of talking about the land a little bit. He was very, very friendly with all of the people we were passing and the houses and the families. Like, I remember we were like driving there and we were passing people's homes and like they were sitting on their porch and he would like stop the car and like have a small little conversation with them, and like you could just tell the energy was just like everybody was just like super happy to be existing. And I think that's why I felt called to Costa Rica. I remember like when I first heard about like Costa Rica, my friend from middle school, she told me that for her winter break, her and her family was going to Costa Rica. And I'm like, that sounds... I've never heard anything about Costa Rica. That was the first time I ever heard the name Costa Rica. But I'm like, whoa, that sounds like really a nice country. And then I remember I Googled it and I looked at the pictures and I'm like, oh my god, I am so jealous of this friend. And dude, I was jealous of this friend. I mean, she seemed like she had the perfect life. We're not really friends anymore, but I would be open to reconnecting with her if she was down. I don't know if I should say her name. Maybe. I'll think about it. I don't know. It would be kind of weird. Okay, maybe I'll reconnect with her. Oh, maybe I'll put myself out there. And I'm prepared if I get ghosted. Or I'm prepared if I get like a, hey, I'm sorry, I'm busy, bye. Or you know what? Why am I like thinking about the worst? Okay, back to the story. So I knew that like at some point I wanted to go to Costa Rica, and then also I had a guy who I was following on TikTok and Instagram, and he was living in Costa Rica at the time, and I just felt a connection with the country of Costa Rica. And then when Quantum Shifting Tattoo was hosting a retreat, I'm like, wow. And then it was like when I saw that retreat offering, it was like I felt it was more important to honor this desire to go than my fear of going. My desire to go outweighed my fear of going. So I think when it comes to like making a decision, ask yourself, is your desire to go outweighing your fear of going? So if there's something you really, 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 really want to do, but your fears of doing it are getting in the way, I would ask yourself, what's more important, your fears of doing it or your reason of doing it? And I think that can help when it comes to making big decisions, especially trips you really, really want to go on. I think we're only on this planet for such a short period of time, and it goes by so fast. And honestly, we never know when our last day here is. So if you want to do something, fucking do it. And then eventually, when you do things that are in alignment with what you want, what you love, more opportunities will come to you that are in alignment with the things that excite you. The more time you put yourself in doing things that you dread doing, the more dreadful opportunities will come to you. So there's never a time to just start taking action and changing things up, to just do things that excite you, do things that bring you joy. So, okay, I forget the name of the guy who drove us to the base of the mountain, but he drives us to the base of the mountain, and then we're greeted by another car driver who turns out to be, they're not husband and wife, but the partner of the Shell. And he picks us up and he drives us up to the top of the mountain. And that was the craziest ride I've ever been on in my entire life. Like, I thought I was going to die, but then I would look at his face driving, and he was so calm, cool, and collected, and I could just tell that he had done this many, many, many times, which made me feel very relaxed. But probably if he started freaking out, then I would start freaking out. And I think there was a time where he like pretended to freak out, but ultimately I knew that I didn't have anything to worry about, because this was like where he's driving the pickup truck up the mountain, and there was a part where we start rolling back off the cliff, and I was just thinking to myself, there's no way my mom and my sister would be handling this okay. But then me and my friend, I don't know if I should say their names, I'm sure it's not a problem if I say their names, but I guess I'll just leave their names out of it because I didn't ask their permission. Whatever, I don't know. But me and her were just laughing the entire time because it felt like a roller coaster. Like, this whole time I felt like very protected and safe, even when I was doing things that were scaring the crap out of me, like that car ride up the cliff. They live on a cliff, sacred land, and we finally get to, it was like a 20-minute, it felt like a 20-minute ride up the cliff, probably longer, maybe shorter, I don't know. But yeah, we ride up the cliff, and then we get to the top, and then we're greeted by quantum shifting, aka Madison and Shell, and I remember I saw Madison just walking towards me, my like idol who I've been following for like at least a year, and I'm like, oh my god, she's about to give me a hug. I'm about to hug like someone who's inspired me so long. I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm just gonna go for it. And then I hug, and like I honestly felt like I was hugging God. Like, I felt like I was hugging myself, but like my future self. I'm like, this is so freaking weird. Like, or like, I don't know, a sister that like I never met. We all became sisters on this retreat. But it was such a powerful embrace. And then she's like, and then I remember she said, hi, you know so much about me, and I know nothing about you, and I can't wait to learn all about you. And I just looked at her, I'm like, okay. And then I just walked away. Oh, I didn't walk away. And then I hugged Shell. And I'm like, hi, Shell. And then I love Shell too. I was following more Madison at the time than I was Shell. But Shell is super, super, super inspirational to me as well, and I love her too. And then we have a little baby who's like the cutest, most conscious, smartest, what's the word? Like, she's not been affected by the matrix whatsoever. So it's just like, she's just like a pure ball of light as a baby. It's crazy. They were doing a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful job raising her. I feel like no matter what problems they may experience in their life when it comes to raising her, I feel like even when they do think that they're doing something wrong, they're not. I think just because they care so much about her well-being, she's just destined for greatness no matter what happens. She's such a rare little child. Like, I remember the whole time on the retreat, like, everybody was just talking about their stuff, and my whole attention was just on like that baby and Shell and their connection. So it was unlike anything I'd ever seen before. It was so awesome. So then, yeah, we sit down at the table and we have like a full spread of fruit and food. And then I remember I just go straight into the kitchen and I meet one of my best friends ever, Liberty. And I remember the first thing she said to me was, "You have a really deep stare." And I'm like, "You have a really deep stare." Anyways, that's how I met. And then and she was volunteering on the retreat. And then I met Debuda, who was also volunteering on the retreat. And then we started talking, but then I realized that everybody else was sitting outside. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go sit outside. So then I sat outside, and then we all just sat outside, and then we were all introducing ourselves, talking a little bit about ourselves, what's going on in our lives, and then, oh, I just saw birds fly by. Talking a little about what's going on in our lives, and then we walk over to the temple, and that walk to the temple, I was just blown away. It's such a little magical land. Anybody who goes there, no matter how short of a time, you don't come off that land as the same person. You just don't. That place changes you. I think that's why I was willing to spend as long as the time I did up there. Because after the retreat was over, I ended up getting an internship at the place that we stayed at on the last night, and I learned a lot on that internship. And then at the end of the internship, Shell invited me to a ceremony at the temple, and then after that ceremony, she offered me a position to volunteer for like, I don't know, 4 to 5 weeks. And I was like, yeah, I will do that. It will be really good for me. But I will say that living in an area as a retreat guest is a whole other story. It's a very different than living somewhere as a volunteer or like in a working position. And yeah. So definitely know your intentions for doing things when you do them. So like my intentions for this podcast today were to talk about how I manifested a life in the jungle. Well, that's kind of how I manifested that life in the jungle. I could really go on and on and on. So I guess after we walked to the temple, and the walk to the temple was so beautiful and so magical. We were greeted by horses and dogs, and it was really interesting because the retreat was the Sacred Feminine retreat, and Shell had done like a really beautiful job honoring the divine feminine by having all of the animals on her. I don't know if she did this consciously or what, but all of the animals on her farm on the mountain were female animals except for the cats. I'd like to know more about why only the cats were male. I think she might have told me, but I don't remember. But since all the cats were male, they were very territorial. So it was kind of a weird thing going on with the cats and the animals. yeah, I remember we got to the temple, and I remember I was just feeling so overwhelmed by the beauty and the people I was surrounded by and the nature and the views I was surrounded by, because my whole life had just been like so sad to myself up until that moment. Okay, well, it's officially been 1 hour. I guess I'll continue my story in the next episode of how I manifested a life in the jungle. But I'm gonna put in a plug that I have a concert coming up at the Brooklyn Music Kitchen at 8 p.m. April 21st. I'm going to be performing my original songs there, and it's going to be an awesome time. So if you want to meet me, come watch me sing my original songs, that's where I'll be. And I'm also an artist, and I have like lots and lots of painting denim jackets that I put my heartfelt artwork on that, and I actually sold a piece of my art at my last concert, and it was really cool. So I think I'll make a little website where you can find it. I consider it my art / my merch. So thank you all for tuning in, and I'll catch you in my next episode. Peace and love.